Welcome to Steampunk Tuesday. I'm Ian.
And this is Mike.
Today's project is an epic mega project.
Yes.
You may have seen in the vlog that I made a cupcake making machine for the is it the Bishop Auckland Cupcake Company?
The Auckland Cupcake
Cupcake Company.
And it's like this big. It's huge.
It's huge.
Excuse me, I'm spitting on my
Oh
cardigan.
dear. That's his age for you. The project is huge. We've divided up into two videos, both 45 minutes long.
First one's about 45 minutes, the next one's about 49 minutes. So give or take about 45
It shows it from just an ordinary standard box to the finished item, everything made, and I'll show you how I make everything on it.
Yeah, because Ian filmed it over the period of about 2 weeks, we had about an hour and 3/4 of footage of all the bits and pieces that he did. So what we've done is we've made it into two parts. Part 1, which is 45 minutes, part 2, which is 49 minutes, but which is already available. So if you're watching this, part 2 is linked in the description area below, and if you're jumping into part 2, then part 1 is linked in the description area below that, so you can still get to see which way around they are. But they're both available now. You don't have to wait for another week.
Bentley's playing.
Yes.
It's a magical build. It's a long build, so
It is.
please have your patience and watch it. It is unbelievable.
But if you're interested in the mechanics of how Ian puts his machines together,
And what goes on in here,
then it's a perfect video for you to watch.
or a psychologist. Right, part 1, here we go. I'm very excited today. I have a commission which I have started. It is for a cupcake shop up north in, I think it's Bishop Auckland, up that way. I can never remember. Anyway, and my assistant's here as well.
Don't know what it's come down for.
I don't either because we're talking. To start with, I buy the boxes. These are if I look down here, these are the plain boxes that I buy. They're just ordinary white, not white, but very light colour boxes. They need a good sand, and then what I do with them, I sand them all down, and I give them about 3 or 4 coats of varnish. That's the raw box. And then after that I cover them in the leather. This is, I say it's leather, it's actually an upholstery vinyl.
So it's waterproof.
It's waterproof, yeah, and that is bonded onto some thick mount board, and then I glue them on, and then I screw them on with the eyes and the rivets. The eyes and the screws rather. Okay, so the reason I haven't painted the base is because the machine itself has a base. It's a big machine, this. The machine, that is the base of the machine. I've yet to paint the underneath, which I'm going to do this afternoon. I've covered it in some really, really nice paper. There are actually 3 sheets there. You can just about see a joint there and one there. They weren't Mike's, they were mine, so I don't feel bad about it.
There's the joint.
There's a joint there, and there's one joint there as well, but you don't see it.
Yeah,
Okay.
just about make it out.
Yet. So this is another box I've done. This one is going to be screwed or fastened onto the base there, like that. This one, which is the second, which is the larger one, is going on that way. Then they'll all be glued and screwed down. But also, with it being a cupcake making machine, I want to have a cupcake on it. So I bought a faux cupcake. It's a cupcake that they would use in films and video and that kind of thing. It's a stunt cupcake. So I've also got a tiny little box which I've covered, and that's going to go on there. I've also got a little tiny globe. These are really, really cool.
They're acrylic.
They're acrylic, yeah. And that one is going to go onto the side there. I'll explain, I'll show you how I'm going to build it, but that's going to go there, and that's going to have a motor in it, and it's going to have an eye that goes round to look what's going on.
Okay.
And if you come back up to me, I have a very, very large dome. That came last week.
Okay, this is acrylic again.
This is acrylic again. I mean, this was £12.50. So they're not cheap, but they're not
that expensive either.
expensive. And if we just come down to the machine, I'm going to have that on there, about there. and that's going to have a cupcake that goes round and it's going to have lights on it.
So that's where the cupcake's going inside.
Inside there.
And that's going to be turning on a little motor.
It is. And then I have 2 bicycle horns. And these are going to go about there. And that's where all the cupcake material's put in. So you pour the material, the flour in one and the sugar in another.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have this very large frosting
Looks like a
container.
frosting tank.
Yep, and the frosting tank is going to go there. So it's going to look like that.
Okay.
Okay, this is just starting now. I've also had a lot of stuff laser cut for this. So I'll just swap over and I'll show you the laser cuts blank and then how I've painted them and how it's going to work. Well, I have all the bits back from the laser cutters, as you can see.
Right.
However, I got so excited when they came back,
Yeah.
I forgot to push record, and I've painted them already. But I'll show you.
These are spares then.
These are spares.
But this is what they look like.
That's what they look like. So basically, you've got these are all. I've designed all these and had all these cut by our friends Bill and Julie. They slot into there, and they look like small, like pieces of metal. RSJs, I think they're called. They call them in building, like all the
sort of structure you'd see inside like a hot air balloon,
yeah.
a Zeppelin, or even like metalwork that you'd see maybe in the Eiffel Tower or places like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And these are just some spares I've got, but I know what I'm going to do with them. So I have painted all the bits, and these are them when they're painted. These are just partially painted.
That's one side.
One side, but that is what they look like when they're finished. They just need some touching up to do.
Okay. So you've painted these in copper acrylic.
Copper acrylic, and I've used a sponge dauber to give it that hammered effect.
Almost looks like the structures of a bridge as well.
Yes, it does. I mean, you can put them back to back. The way it's going to work on the box is they are going to go on each side of the box. But you'll see when I come to my next stage.
Do you know something? You could, looking at the design and stuff on the side, you could actually make maybe like a laptop base, couldn't you, to stand your laptop on?
Yes, you could if it was, like that. So
A steampunk laptop base.
Yes. But yeah, these are both pieces. Had a little bit of a mishap there, but that's going to be fine when I've glued it all down. You just need touching up at the ends where you can see the other ones have come through.
You're going a bit too fast for me.
Sorry.
Okay, so just where they've gone through, that one
Yeah.
looks okay.
It just needs a little spounce on there, and they'll be fine. And they are actually going to go, if we go over to the machine, which is behind me.
Let's do this in one take.
They're actually going to go on there like that. But each one of the panels in the middle is going to have the red leather in it.
Okay.
So there'll be a panel at the end, and there'll be a panel down there and there, and there'll also be the same thing on the back.
Right, on the other side.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to touch these up. I'm going to try and get all the base stuck back together. So I'll show you when it's all been built, i.e. on the base. Then we can start talking about what I'm going to build that got the lighting bits and bats, and I'll talk you through that as well.
All the interesting electronics.
Oh, they're the sex. This is boring. This is
I don't think this stuff is boring at all. Your MDF, your decoration, I don't think it's boring at all.
But I've got something else to share with you first. Come back over to the table, and I want to show you this. Now it looks like what it is. It's some lolly sticks stuck on a circular box.
So, just translation for the Americans, popsicle sticks.
Popsicle sticks, sorry, yeah. They're stuck on with the always useful glossy accents.
Yes.
But when you're finished, you rub it down, you stain it. That's what you get. I mean, and this is going on there. So you will not see the ends. So basically you will see that. How sexy
Very steampunk.
is that?
It's all steampunk glamour.
It is. But that is going to be part of the base that rotates. I've done the tank for the frosting in exactly the same way. as you'll see here, this is just a plastic drinks bottle.
It's a reservoir for a child's water pistol.
Is it? All right, okay.
Yes.
It's a water pistol reservoir.
It's a reservoir tank for a Nerf gun.
Oh, yeah. So, that is exactly the same as I've just shown you.
But again, yeah, once it's stained
But you can't
vanished,
tell.
No, once it's stained and vanished, it looks amazing.
So popsicle sticks are great.
Lolly sticks.
Lolly sticks, yeah. So what I'll do is I'll crack on now and I will get it all fastened together and I'll come back to you and we'll start doing some sexy light up bits to go on it as well. I've just made some dials, little dial clusters to go on the cupcake making machine. We have, so the size of them's quite sweet. My hand is there, so you've got the three of the little dials. Where am I there? 1, 2, 3. Got one of the large dials on there for the outside pressure. I've also made a booster one with a little one at the top, and I've also made that says amazing on it. That amazing came in some Happy Mail. I thought that'll look good on there, so they're going to go on the machine. I'm not decided where yet, but I shall show you when I get there. Well, I've had a little bit of a disaster this afternoon. I drilled the holes in the front rather than the back. However, I have fitted, oh, a little pitter patter, I have fitted, if you want to have a look, I have fitted the front pieces on. The holes were behind these panels, but you can't see them anyway. But we've got the amazing that I showed you earlier, and this is all the steel work, or metal work, that's the MDF that I've painted, and that's now fastened on. So that side is coming up to be finished. It just needs this fitting on, but I'll do that. I'll show you when I fit that. That's going to have the rotating eye in it. The back, I have put a hole in it. That will be covered by this and also that panel. This is the back, so you won't see it, but it covers.
Is that where the electrics come out?
Well, no, it's where the electricals come out in that corner, so I can get my fingers in to pull the wires out and work on them all. So I always build a little doorway in the back of everything I build. But yeah, that's there, and then I've drilled a hole in there. Looks nasty, but there's another piece butts onto there. The other box butts onto there, so I can get the wires through for wiring things up.
Okay.
But I am really, really pleased with that, with the little rivets in and the gauges and stuff. There's a circular Cupcake logo to go there. That's the company's logo I want to put on the front. So we're getting there, slowly but surely. So the next thing to do will be to get this glued onto the board, screwed onto the board with the other one, and now we'll show you that when I have done that. Right, it's build time now, and I have made another one of the round boxes with the popsicle sticks on and put on the little rivets. I need to glue this onto there, and then that is the base of the globe, and that's going to go on there. The reason I'm gluing them all together is when you see it without, you get a little bit of a scruffy edge, and I don't like a scruffy edge. So I've mixed up some of my magic epoxy. This is 90-second epoxy I'm using. It's very strong and very good, but also incredibly sticky, which is why I sometimes like to use glossy accents instead of this. But I wanted to make sure it's not going to come off and we're not going to have any problems in the future with it. So I'll just twist it around. I can see I've got a little bit of the glue on the side of the box, so I'll just take it off with a wet wipe, baby wipe rather. There we go. See, it doesn't matter if the glue oozes out on the inside because all that is covered, but on the outside it needs to be pristine and sparkly because I like everything to be just perfect. So that's onto there, and I'll leave that to dry for a moment. The other large dome is a little bit different because this little one's going to have the eye going round on it, which I'll show you when I've done it, or as we're doing it. The larger globe, which is a very large one, the wooden box is actually going to sit inside. The reason being, I only have a certain amount of height on the machine when it's being built to work to, and if I put this on the outside, it throws all the measurements out and I will have a serious problem, I think. So I'm going to put that onto there, but I need to drill it all out first. So this is, there we are, that's dry. See, that's how quick it is. Just to check around we haven't got any nasty glue anywhere. No, I haven't. And then onto that will go that. And the reason I'm sticking them all together first is I'm going to drill through there into the box below. That way the motor spindle will go exactly the same place. I'm actually going to put the motor spindle into this box. I hear you say there is no entry to the box. That's right. It's easier to do the circular box with both bottom and top on, because when you clamp it as you glue in the popsicle sticks on, it could actually smash in on itself because there's not a lot of weight there. So I prefer to cut a hole in afterwards, plus it's easier to stain and work on. So that's that done. So next, it's a little bit more glue. I'm sick of using paper for the glue and throwing bits of wood out, so I now use a very, very, very old book from a charity shop. So I mix my glue onto the book. There we go. And I use a cocktail stick or toothpick. And I just mix it on the book page. I used to use pieces of wood for this, but unfortunately I used to sort of leave them out, and I would go in the house and Mike would say, you've got something stuck on your arm, and there'd be a little piece of wood with all the glue stuck to my arm. So I prefer to do it this way. It's less embarrassing, to be honest with you all. So that goes round there. It doesn't matter, I said before, it doesn't matter if it all goes towards the middle, because it is going to need quite a lot of glue to stick this on, because the globe it's not heavy, but it's quite bulky. Yeah. There we are. And as usual, when I stick it on, I'm just going to stick it on the leaf. I'm going to put it on and I'm going to spin it very lightly. That way it pulls the glue round with it. So if there's a little area with no glue, it'll put it on. There we go. So just a little bit of the baby white on the outside, just to get off any little bit of glue. I mean, it dries transparent, but it has to be so for me, and that's the way I do it. Oh yeah. There we are. So that's now all ready to dry. Split up a little bit. I'm just checking to make sure I haven't got it on the woodwork on the box itself. I haven't, so that's good. But it's a little bit it's moving around quite a lot. So I think what I'm going to do is just leave that be for a minute or two and address this one. Now this one is going to be, say, a little bit different, because this one's going onto the larger globe. The larger globe. So what I'm going to do with this one, I have a plate which I'm going to put on top. It doesn't matter if it's the same as the other one. I want to make it a little bit different so it looks nicer. So that's going to go on there, and I may put that on there just to lift it and give it a little bit of a lift, but I think, to be honest, it's going to be better just on there with that there. And this time the motor is going to go in this box and then it's going to stick on top. So it's the opposite way around to the smaller one. So I need to just stick on there the piece of MDF. There's a hole in the middle, so that's really good because that gives me a point to drill through. So all I need now is a little bit more of the magic glue. That's almost set. A little bit of glue on the outside there. I'll just wipe that off. There we are. You can only do it for so long, and then the glue itself becomes stringy and you make a real mess. So this one is a little bit more onto the book. I'll use the same cocktail stick and just mix it up. There we go. This machine is going to look superb when it's finished. Absolutely superb, and I think the customer's going to be highly delighted with it. Okay, so a little bit of glue now. I need to put some glue onto the box. Spread it around. we get our base. As I said before, we put it on and we twist and wobble it. And by twisting and wobbling it, you're spreading the glue around a little bit more. It also gives me the time to have a look and see if it is in the middle, which I think it looks like it's in the middle to me, give or take a millimetre. There we go. Right, so that's those two done. What I'm also making at the same time is one of the little night lights. I think you saw me make one a while ago for a customer, but this is actually to go on top of the machine. So the way this is going to work is that's going to go there, that goes on there, and that goes on there. There's going to be lots of little rivets all the way around there. But first of all, what I need to do is I need to make sure I have enough room, because I have to screw this onto the top of the big box of the machine, the one that you saw me making earlier, with all the MDF metalwork on it. So what I've done is I've also put a smaller ring at the bottom, so it gives me a little bit more space. So there's room to put some very large screws and put some tops on going through this and into the box below. So what I need to do before I do that, I've got so many things to do, is I need to just decorate the top of the glass. It already comes, it's a tea light holder, so it's already got a lovely piece of metal around it. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this faux copper or bronze ring on it, and this is actually from curtain eyelets. The front, when you hang the curtains up and the pole goes through, this is the back, this one that crimps on. So they're very, very, very good. And that's not going to need a lot of glue. So all I'm going to use for this is a little bit of glossy accents, if it hasn't blocked up, which it has. So I just need my unblocky. I'll just cut the end off it, to be honest. It's nearly done. It's nearly past its best. I've got another two tubes or bottles coming this week, so you go through quite a lot of it. Just a little bit on there. There's not a larger point in putting it in the middle, because that actually doesn't touch the MDF. It's just the outer ring, possibly the inner ring. When I look at it now, it's just the outer ring that's going to hold it on. And slide that along a little bit to that. I need to put some weight on there. So what I've got is, I used to work in a pub and they were knocking it down. This went in a newel post on the one of where the people sit around the table. It's solid brass and weighs a ton. So he brought this for me, so I just put that on there and let that dry for a little while. And I'll be back in 2 shakes, and we'll finish off building the one with the rotating eye on it. What I'm going to do now, before I put the motor in, I've actually drilled it out, as you can see, so that's pretty cool. I'll need to clean that out in a moment, but what I need to do is to put on some tails onto this motor. The wire's very small, the box is quite big, and I'm not going to be able to get back in to solder them, so what I'll do is I'll just put some longer leads on the motor, just wrap that around there. The wire that I'm using is white rather than black. It's because wrong way around. The white is actually the live instead of the red. This is what they use when they make signs. This comes from a great friend of mine who runs a sign company. They just use black and white rather than red and black. So that's that one. So I just need to get my little soldering iron out. It's got a little light on it so I can see what I'm doing. A little bit of solder on there. There's only just a little bit touching there, that's all you need. So I just solder that there. There we go. So that's that one. And then the black one. The reason I quiet when I just picked it up and I actually used my teeth to strip the wire. It's much easier than use. I know you're all saying don't do that, you'll ruin your teeth, but I find it works beautifully. Just because I've got a little groove in my bottom tooth just makes me even more attractive apparently. So Bentley says. So let's do this. So I just solder this one on as well. being careful not to touch the other wires. Don't really want to burn holes in them. The soldering iron's a really good one. Mike bought it for me. It's a very powerful one. It gets very, very hot. Small ones I have trouble with sometimes. There we are. Just put my solder back into my little plastic and back up onto the rack. Then I know where it is. So I just need now my tape. I prefer to solder and tape all my joints rather than just taping them. You could tape them, but I don't think it's only 9 to 12 volts. It's not going to catch fire, but you don't want wires inside coming apart once you've made a machine for somebody. It would just be awful, and it's just doesn't look very tidy, so that looks a lot tidier. And then a black one to go on the black. I occasionally use the same colour right through, which is why there's, if you can't see into the box, I know I sometimes just use black all the time. It's not like it's supposed to be a wiring diagram for something to rewire, which it isn't. There we go. So that just goes there like that. That will actually be disappeared. That'll be inside this box anyway. So now that goes into there. Put a little hole in the base. Let's just fiddle it through. Sounds like little Hugo next to us going out for his walk. I'm having a little bit of trouble there, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, before I do it, what I need to do is to rough the surface up. Because it's plastic and I'm gluing plastic, there's no key. So I like using gesso for mixed media. I'm doing this so I have a key for the glue to sit to. Just try again, I'm sure that was it there. You can see it there, but I can't get it through the hole. So what I'll do, I'll just get my little saw and I'll just trim off because I'm not screwing them on because there's nothing to screw into. So look. There we are. Now we're in. So that then goes through the hole. The hole's a bit sloppy. The idea is the hole is supposed to be a little bit bigger anyway, so it's not going to touch anywhere while it's going round. So what I need now is some of my glue. Again on the old book. Put plenty on. So I want it to bind quite quickly. Although saying that, if I have enough trouble putting it together like I did just then, it'll look every time I get it in. But hey ho, it should be alright. So mix it up well. Slip the battery out. The motor out. Where did the word battery come from there? So I know there's loads on there, but I just want to make sure that it's not going to come off, because if it comes off, it's going to be an absolute nightmare. Yes, I would have to smash it to build it back up again, and that's not really what I want. There we go, straight in that time. As you can see, it's actually in there now, and it looks fairly not touching anywhere. No, it's not. So I'll just push that and let that dry a moment, and I'll be back within 2 shakes. And we'll put the rest of it together. So my second one is now complete. I've got that glued on, it's all set as well. I've cut a hole in the box for the one that goes into the large dome. So I've got a different motor this time. This motor is only 4 revs per minute, so it's very, very slow. So what I'm going to do again, I'm just going to look for, I'm going to rough that surface up as much as I can. I'll give it a place to stick onto. I'm going to mix some magic glue. I've got a spare one in the cupboard. I always keep spares just in case. What's that there? Is that a bit of cocktail stick that's fallen off? Don't want that in. keep it away from the main rotor there, because I don't want it to stick to it. Put a light around the edges just to keep it in. Plenty there. A bit there. So it's got somewhere to grip to. There we go. And then that will just drop straight through there. Into the hole if I can find it. There we are. That's it. It's gone into the slot. Yeah, as you see, that's gone into there. So I'm just going to push that down a minute or two just to keep it so it's flat. And I'll put it to one side and let it dry. Just if it isn't flat, it'll rotate and it'll do that, and it rotates and it'll look like it's drunk. And that's it. So that one's done. So bring the other one in. This is the one I did a minute ago. So all that's dry now. You see, we need to put something in there just to cover up the hole. So just put in there a little washer, which will go there, and that will then cover up anything that you can see under there. I wonder if I've got any glue left. Well, let's stick that. Oh, this one with it. There, that should do it, I think. So that just covers up a little bit of the hole that was there. Just looks a lot tidier. So that's fine. What I've had to do with the eye is originally it had that on the back. What I didn't think about when I was starting is that going round in there. And with it being off centre, that hits the dome. So what I've had to do is to take it off, and I've put a washer in there, and I'm going to put something on top, just flat, just to cover that up. And it'll look just as nice going round, except it won't have that on the end. Just me not thinking properly, and just sort of setting off and making things. So that's nearly dry. Make sure it's in the middle. What I'll do is I'll just put the motor on just to make sure that it doesn't. One piece of wire and two pieces of wire, that it doesn't catch on any of. That's moving around beautifully. It's very free. That's not touching any of the metal on that washer. So that is excellent news. So that one can go over there for now. Behind me. That's very good as well. So that one won't be dry yet. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go away and have a quick tidy up, and I'll be back within 2 minutes because I need some more glue as well, so I shall nip into the cupboard and get some. Well, I found I've actually got a little bit of glue left, to be honest, and what I need to do now is just to cover this up. So what I'm going to do with this one, I'm going to put a circle on the bottom like that, just to finish it off, and it gives it a little bit more dimension rather than just being a flat up and down at the sides. There's already a hole in it, which is good, so I'm just going to thread the wires through. 1 and 2. Again, the wires are so long because I need to be able to get them into the machine and out the back again so I can work on them. That should be about the right length, I think. Okay, so what I need to do now, I'm just going to use this. This is a garden light somebody gave me, so I'm just going to put it on there to keep it straight, and just get some more glue. I know I'll go through quite a bit of this glue, but it's better to be safe than sorry for the sake of a couple of pounds, and it's not going to drop to pieces. Not when it's a commission for a shop. So there we go. Let's mix this up. With it being the end of the tube, it is a little bit more gloopy than it normally is. So now I'm just going to put some bits onto there. So a little bit there, Some of that. With this, it's always better to have a little bit too much than too little, because if you have too little, you don't have time to remix it before it starts to go off. So it's best just to make a bit extra, get it globbed on. That's a technical term for you there. And then just work with it. So let's have a look. So I haven't put any very close to the edge. I'm quite lucky the fact that I've got a little bit of wiggle without it showing. A bit of wiggle room. So I'll just put that flat there and just make sure it's not going to slide anywhere. So I don't want it to go to one side or anything like that. I'll just hold that till it sets. You don't have to watch the glue dry, do you? It's almost as bad as watching paint dry. So I'll be back in 2 minutes and we'll do the next step for this piece. I've made a slight discovery while I've been building this, the fact that when the eye goes round on this particular motor, it's catching just a little bit, and I'm talking about 2 or 3 millimeters, if that, onto the plastic. So what I'm going to do, whoopsie daisy, I'm going to put a little bit of glue around the edge of this, if I can actually get into it, which I think it's set again. As I say, it's an old tube, and I've ordered some more, so they should be here any time. What I'm going to do, I'm going to stick that onto there, so it'll be like a little collar, and then the dome will sit on top of it, and that just buys me a little bit of extra room. Look in the light, I'm only putting a little bit on because I don't need a lot. And that will just bind onto there. A little bit much on there, I think. By the look of it, it's spurted out a little bit, so a little bit of a wet wipe. It's gloss accents, it'll dry, but I don't really want it to be a lot of glue kicking about. It just doesn't work very well for me. And then what will happen is the eye will go on, and that will go onto there. And what I'll do is I'll gloss the accent all the way over that frame, so it'll then sit into a pool of it. And there's a hole in the top already, so the pressure will be correct and it won't try and force itself off. So what I'll do is I'll let that set for 5 or 10 minutes. I'll just wipe off the excess glossy accents that I can see just around the edges. Put that over there to dry. And we'll start making the light up bits for it now. Let's just put that on there. There we are. That's drying beautifully. So I'm going to make the light ups for it now, because obviously there's going to be a lot of bits and bats on this machine, a lot of lights. There's 2 motors, as you already know. So what I'm going to do in a minute, I've just marked these out for cutting. These are bicycle horns, and they're going to be the inlets for where you put all the ingredients in to the cupcake machine. So I've just marked those, but I'll put those over there for now. What I need to work on is this. It's a garden light that I've taken, and I have fitted it into a 50mm coupler, and I've put a washer on top, and then there's a copper washer on top of that. I mean, it looks really cool. But what I'm going to do is I've got my bubble lights, and I'm going to fasten one of those into there so it gives a lovely glow. So I'm not sure what colour. I think I'll probably end up going for well, it's orange. So if it was orange, it would want to be yellow. We don't get yellow ones, so it would have to be red. I think a red one in there would work really, really well. It's like a warning light that the system's running. So I'll just grab a flashing LED from my stash. I have been to my stash and I have my LED. What I'm going to do then is use a little bit of epoxy and just epoxy that into there. There's not a lot needed. It's better to use, I have 2 sorts of epoxy. I have the metal and I have the clear. I use the clear with 99.9% of the light ups and wood, but the metal adhesive is absolutely brilliant. It works really, really well, and it glues any metal to any metal. It's almost like a welding a tube. I'll just put that on there, just push that inside there like that. Let that set for a moment or two. I've not exactly decided where I'm going to put this yet, but it's going to go somewhere, I know that. What I also need to make is a couple of the bubbles. These are the little bubbles themselves. You can't really see very well, but they're little lights. And I pull the lights out and then I put my LEDs in them. What I'm going to do with those is I'm going to get two 50mm reducers and I'm going to epoxy those in. I've had an idea about making some warning lights for when the machine's running. So I'll use a little bit of the epoxy that's left there to put into there so it holds it on. Should have probably made a little bit more, but that'll hold that onto there. We're drying in 90 seconds. It's brilliant because you can just keep moving and keep motoring with things rather than having to put them to one side. With the glossy accents, of course, you have to leave them for a couple of hours. But I think in many cases it grips quite quickly. If it's card or wood, the glossy accent seems to bond it almost instantly. I just need to use my toothpick stroke cocktail stick just to get it out of there, because obviously if the glue's inside, the LED will not fit in. So that's almost set, which is brilliant. I'm on with so many different bits and bats. Earlier we just put on that bronze ring, so that's now ready. That needs to go on the little ring that I've got, which is there. So I'll glue that onto there and let that dry for a short while. Really nice are these little tea lights. This one's got a little bit lumpy at the top, I've just noticed. Oh, I better not force it because I might break it, that's what normally happens. Yeah. Does that look alright? I may have to change that. I'm not overly keen of it's a little gap. I like things to be perfect. I may swap it for another one if I can get it off, or I'll make another one. Because that is exactly the same ring. Oh, it's a little bit bigger. It's a little bit bigger. I shall have to ponder that. Give me 2 minutes and I'll have a ponder. Well, the inevitable happened. I broke it. I suspected I would probably break it. I tried to squeeze the metal closed on the glass, and it must have been the way it was made. It actually split while I was trying to do it. So I'm just going to, oops, there's it. Just going to put a little bit of glossy accents on this and stick this down to the base. And then when I go in tonight, one of my jobs is going to be making a new top for it. So I'll put that onto there, like that. You can still keep moving with the project, it just means it's one step forward, one step back. But it's got to be right, so there we go. And I'll leave that to dry. It just means it'll be a slightly different top. I may even put one of those curtain rings on instead. I'm not at all sure what I'm going to put on there. I'll probably just use another piece of the MDF circle and put another one of those on. But that's going to set. The other bits of the resin that I've done on the bubbles, they have all dried now. So what I can do, that one obviously that's the red one, so we'll put that into there. We'll go through the hole. I think, yes it will. This is a massive challenge. I've never built a machine and filmed it before. I normally just sit and talk to myself. So I'm talking to you today. Right, a little bit, there we go. Just pull it back just a little bit so it doesn't keep coming out when you've finished. This will be quite a lot thinner than the ones that I've already used because it's a new tube. But still need to get it mixed up properly. I always make plenty. I know it's wasteful, but I'd rather waste a bit and get it to fit than put too little on and then find it's fallen to pieces when the customer's got it. We have one unhappy customer, and that's not what we want. We don't want any unhappy customers, and generally we're very lucky. I've never had an unhappy customer. I had a couple of vexed ones, but that wasn't my fault. Right, I'll just go down there. What we'll do, I'll just give it a quick knock to make the a little bit of the glue on there. I didn't see that. That would have been a dreadful disaster. Right, okay, so that's beginning to glue there. I can feel it starting to grip. And what I'll do is I'll put this on the desk. You can't see, but I've actually drilled a hole in my desk, and I'm actually popping it through the hole in the desk so the wire comes out the bottom, so everything dries completely upright. So that's that little piece done. Need now to decide what we're going to do with these two. Just move that one out of the way while it dries. So what we're going to do next, I think I need to start getting the machine put together, and then we can see what we're going to do, because at the moment I've got lots of bits everywhere. I know in my head where they're going to go, but that doesn't do you any good, does it? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the camera around onto the area behind me, the big bench that's got the baseboard on it, which is nearly 1 metre long, and then we'll start putting the machine together and you'll see how it's all going to start coming together.
I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, because without you, these videos would not be possible. Thank you.